idea how long a flight it was from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You can't see it, but I am wearing a campaign button for former U.S. Senator, former Governor Mark Hatfield. One of the greatest men it was ever my privilege to meet. Mark Hatfield nominated Richard Nixon at the 1960 Republican National Convention for president and was on the short list for vice president in 1968 as a U.S. Senator. Think how history would have been different if the ticket had been Nixon and Hatfield rather than Nixon and Agnew. I want to thank two individuals here who are great friends of long-standing and played a substantial role in my being with you tonight. My colleague from the Reagan years, the Reagan '84 re-election campaign, and a dear friend, Michelle Davis. And my fellow political operative and longtime friend, Derek Kitts. If you have been paying attention to the news, you know that I was the victim of an attempted mugging this past week. Not that long ago, several months ago, I testified for 4 hours under oath before the House Intelligence Committee. I put this experience up there with a proctological exam as one of the great experiences of my life. And I made it clear that the Russian collusion that is espoused by the Democrats and their handmaidens in the mainstream media is a fairy tale. It's a canard. It's a falsehood. It's a fabrication. It's a witch hunt. In short, it's bullshit. What we saw was an attempt to reinflate the Russian collusion delusion. The allegation by The Atlantic magazine was the publication of a screenshot of a direct message exchange between myself and WikiLeaks. Now, only in this atmosphere can a doctored, truncated direct mail message, which if you look at the bottom, it says created by the art department, Atlantic magazine, which is completely exculpatory and proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that I had no advanced knowledge of the content, source, or exact timing of the WikiLeaks disclosures regarding crooked Hillary. Yet the mainstream media immediately went into a frenzy saying, aha, you see, we have him. What they have is nothing. I produced this for the House Intelligence Committee many months ago. So the question has to become, how did this leak? Something smells suspiciously like Schiff to me. And I say to you, if it's Schiff, flush it. You see, this is part and parcel of a new theory being advanced by Margaret Carlson of the Daily Beast that when he became the Republican nominee for president, Donald Trump became a public official. Well, that's a stretch. And that somehow he became aware of the contents of the missing Hillary emails. And therefore, he was the recipient of a campaign assistance that would have been a violation of the federal law. A stretch, to say the least. But here's the most important thing. Not only did I have no advanced knowledge of the content, scope, source, or exact timing of the WikiLeaks disclosures, in fact, Julian Assange himself has said all Roger Stone did was pay attention to the things that I had said in interviews or put up on my own Twitter feed, but I never discussed the matter with candidate Trump, not during, before, or after his campaign for president. So this is a dead end. Why is this being raised? It's very simple. What we have seen unfold over the last several months is the largest case of political espionage in our history, where the Justice Department and the FBI under Barack Obama used what they knew was fabricated evidence as the legal rationale for state surveillance of the Republican candidate for President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, this makes Watergate look like a third-rate burglary. This is the greatest political scandal in our history. And now we know from the text messages and the records regarding the FBI's Assistant Director, Mr. McCabe, that the president at the time was briefed. So my question is an obvious one. What did Obama know, and when did he know it? We were told after Watergate that no person was above the law. Well, everybody here appears to have broken the law. We also have the flagrant example of the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation is not a charity. It's a slush fund for grifters. And it was the vehicle for multi-million-dollar bribes in which foreign countries could purchase public policy decisions for hundreds of millions of dollars. Uranium One, in which Russian interests paid the Clinton Foundation $145 million and gave Bill Clinton a $500,000 tip, is the largest treasonous financial crime in American history. Ladies and gentlemen, would somebody please wake Jeff Sessions up? Would somebody please tap him on the shoulder and tell him to forget about state legalized marijuana, which Donald Trump said in the campaign he supports, and focus on sending these Democratic crooks to prison where they belong? Now, I have known Donald Trump for almost 40 years. In 1988, I tried to convince him for the first time to run for President of the United States. I remember it like it was yesterday. His response was, "You must be out of your mind." I saw in Donald Trump a man who is unbossed and unbought, a man of enormous personal courage, a man with no ties to the enormous mistakes of the past. I wanted him to run again in 2000. I wanted him to run again in 2012, but since Mitt Romney was a certain winner, well, we didn't do that. And then, of course, ultimately he ran in 2016, pulling off the greatest come-from-behind, improbable victory in American political history. How did he do this? Well, he did walk into a perfect storm, because sadly, the two-party duopoly that has run this country for the last 30 years, the Bush-Clinton combine, has run this country into the ditch. What have they given us? Endless foreign war, where our inherent national interests were not clear. Erosion of our civil liberties. General James Clapper told us, no, there's no metadata collection program on American citizens. He said that under oath before the Congress, until the revelations of Edward Snowden proved that he was a liar. Where is General Clapper today, you ask? Why, he's teaching ethics at Vermont College. Their policies gave us immigration policies that made our streets and neighborhoods unsafe, trade policies that, in the words of the late Ross Perot, have sucked the jobs out of America, economic policies forcing us to accept anemic economic growth in the 8 years of Barack Obama. And we were told Americans' problems are intractable. We just have to accept our place in the new global economy. Donald Trump, patriot that he is, Donald Trump, a man whose only allegiance is to the American people, a man who owes no special interests for his election, no billionaires, no super PACs, no special pleaders, a man who is his own man, a man who marches to his own drummer, a man who is a patriot and loves this country, always believed that he could make America great again, and he won the most improbable victory without any of the natural and modern accoutrements that we think are absolutely necessary in American politics. A presidential campaign for the nomination with no polling whatsoever. Because Donald Trump didn't need a poll to tell him what to say in order to be popular. He speaks from the gut. He speaks from the heart. Even when Donald Trump makes mistakes, and he makes them occasionally, people chalk it up to his being genuine, his being authentic, his not being a confection or a fabrication. Does anyone believe that Crooked Hillary ever said anything that wasn't polled, focus grouped, roundtabled, and weighed? That's why her claim that we in this room were deplorables attacking the supporters of her opponent may go down as one of the greatest political blunders in American history. But it was not a mistake. We have experienced in just the first year of the Trump presidency an enormous turnaround for this country. Over 2 million new jobs created, regulations cut to the bone, a path for growth that is based on the largest tax cuts in American history, larger even than the historic Reagan tax cuts, but tax cuts that have still not had time to get the traction that will turbocharge this economy. Now, when I went to the United Kingdom recently to speak at the Oxford Union, and then the Durham Union, and then the Cambridge Union, which was a great experience. First of all, the BBC makes CNN look like Fox News when it comes to fake news and an anti-Trump globalist agenda. And a student stood up and said, well, Mr. Stone, I'm here to protest because you're a racist. Really? I worked for a president who gave us affirmative action. I worked for the president who desegregated the public schools. I worked for a president